The greatest world championships in professional wrestling evoke prestige and tradition, and while All Elite Wrestling's top prize has a short history, it has quickly become one of the most prestigious belts in the business. AEW's method in developing its world title shows that champions are still important for both generating revenue and for building new stars. The road to the first AEW World Champion and Chris Jericho's eventual win provides a fascinating look into what differentiates AEW from its competitors. Welcome to part 1 of the history of the AEW World Championship. AEW announced that its first pay-per-view would begin the road to crowning the promotion's first world champion. Shortly before the show, AEW released a video featuring comedian Jack Whitehall announcing that the winner of the Casino Battle Royale, which was held on the pre-show, would face the winner of the main event, Kenny Omega or Chris Jericho, with the winner of that match making history to become the first ever AEW World Champion. It was clear from the beginning that AEW was treating its top prize as something special. WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart made a surprise appearance, unveiling the belt to the audience for the first time. By the end of the night, Hangman Adam Page had won the Battle Royal, and Chris Jericho had defeated Kenny Omega, setting up the finals. Double or Nothing proved successful in buy rates and suggested that AEW's skillful use of social media allowed it to overcome its lack of TV exposure. However, would fan interest hold after the first pay-per-view? AEW did hold some shows to whet the fans' appetite. Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen provided just that, giving fans an idea of what to expect. Meanwhile, details of AEW's TV deal with TNT, the former home of WCW Nitro, emerged, and on July 24th, AEW made the announcement that its 2-hour show Dynamite was premiering on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. With a TV show looming, it was time for AEW to crown its first champion. Paige vs Jericho would be a match in the classic traditions of rising star taking on a savvy veteran. Despite his age, Jericho was no has-been running on fumes. Incredibly, the then 48-year-old wrestler was doing some of his best work. Jericho gave casual fans and WWE fans a familiar face to tune in for, while Paige's credentials spoke for themselves among the type of hardcore fans AEW was looking to appeal to. The title match at All Out went nearly half an hour, with Jericho and Paige wearing each other out as they sought to hit their finishers. The crowd seemed divided as to who to cheer for, but it was clear everyone was enthralled by the match. Paige hit his buckshot lariat, but it wasn't enough. Jericho's finisher, the Judas Effect, proved too much for Paige, and Jericho won the match, becoming the first AEW World Champion. Chris Jericho seemed to do everything right. Not only did he win the AEW title, but an offhand remark led to an instant classic catchphrase, "Oh! A little bit of the bubbly." However, when Jericho went to celebrate at a local Longhorn steakhouse, his championship title was stolen. Police investigated and the title was found. Fans still debate whether this was a publicity stunt or a treasure hunter's failed mission. Nevertheless, was this a bad sign of things to come? In short, no. Jericho's knack for self-promotion led to him quickly developing a following as AEW's heel you love to hate. Whether it was him designating himself as Le Champion, his entrance song Judas, and his clever catchphrases that spawned numerous t-shirts, Jericho was a man who knew how to market himself and transform into one of wrestling's greatest heel champions. He took his own approach, creating a heel for the 21st century. On October 2nd, 2019, which was AEW Dynamite's debut, Jericho showed his fondness for cheating, as well as bringing in the help of his friends. That night, Jericho unveiled 4 new stablemates, Santana, Ortiz, Sammy Guevara, and Jake Hager, who would become known as the Inner Circle, a faction that helped him as well as each other. Champions are only as good as their challengers, and AEW made sure that Jericho had strong challengers waiting for him. Cody Rhodes, the epitome of AEW, earned a title shot against Jericho and even agreed to a dangerous stipulation. He would never challenge again for the AEW Championship if he lost. In the meantime though, Jericho found himself being challenged by the upstart Darby Allin, a gutsy daredevil and someone whose size made it easy for opponents to underestimate him. He found out Allin was no pushover when he faced him on October 16th in a hard-hitting Philadelphia street fight for the AEW Championship. Before the match, Darby Allin cut a great promo on Chris Jericho, which alone boosted Darby Allin in the eyes of the fans. Jericho did eventually emerge victorious, but only with the help of Jake Hager. Despite losing, Darby showed that he was a future champion. November 9th's Full Gear show featured Cody battling Le Champion in another stunning bout, with the two going head to head for nearly 40 minutes. Like any excellent world title match, this one seemed as if it could go either way, with both Cody and Jericho coming close to victory. Ultimately, Jericho countered a Hurricane Rana by Cody, trapping the American Nightmare in his signature Lion Tamer submission hold. Cody refused to quit and managed to escape, only for Jericho to apply it again. With Cody refusing to give in and facing permanent injury, his cornerman MJF threw in the towel, costing Cody the title and any future championship matches. Cody was emotional at the loss, but he seemed to understand his friend's decision and told him it was okay, at least until MJF low-blowed him, showing his disdain for his supposed friend and telling him, "My turn." With Cody out of the title picture, on November 27th, 2019, Jericho defended the AEW title against SCU's Scorpio Sky in a match where no cornerman would be allowed. Nevertheless, Jake Hager ran in to help Jericho when Sky applied the Dragon Sleeper to the champ. Fortunately, Sky's SCU teammates Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian drove off Hager. The match continued, but Jericho's experience and the earlier interference prevailed and forced Scorpio to tap out to the Lion Tamer, continuing to show that Chris Jericho had more than one string to his bow. Jericho kept the hold on even after the match ended, that is until a familiar face from his past, Jon Moxley, who he had worked with in WWE as Dean Ambrose, showed up in the crowd staring down the champion. It was obvious that Jericho would have to watch out for his new challenger. Jericho offered for Moxley to join the Inner Circle, leading to speculation by some fans that Jericho was hoping to keep Moxley from challenging him for the title by bringing him in to the group. Whatever the reason, Jericho attempted to woo Moxley, offering him the King's ransom if he joined his group. Moxley joined Jericho, Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager in the ring, seemingly joining the Inner Circle. A very happy Jericho was ready to celebrate, but this was all a ruse by Moxley, who told Le Champion, "I would never join the Inner Circle. You have nothing that I want, except for that." Moxley pointed at the AEW Championship, hitting him and Guevara with the paradigm shift. All of this before being chased off by Jake Hager. Jon Moxley had embarrassed the Inner Circle, laying out 3 of their members and acquiring an expensive sports car in the process. There would be a price to pay for his actions, and payment came the very next week on Dynamite when the Inner Circle ambushed Moxley during his match against Sammy Guevara. After Moxley was beaten senseless, Jericho unscrewed a spike from his leather jacket, jamming it into Moxley's eye. Jericho's attack only motivated Moxley more. On January 22nd, Moxley wrestled Pac in a match to determine the #1 contender for the AEW Championship. In a TV first, the match was held aboard the Ship of Jericho at the Bash of the Beach edition of Dynamite. Mox overcame his vicious opponent despite having to wrestle with one eye. Moxley got the pin after a paradigm shift, but could he defeat Jericho now that he was the #1 contender? For the next several weeks, Jericho and his Inner Circle teammates did everything they could to take Moxley out of the match, beating him down at every opportunity. The challenger refused to quit and made it all the way to AEW Revolution. Now it was Moxley's chance to show if he had what it took to make it to the mountain top. Moxley and Jericho battled in Chicago, Illinois at AEW Revolution. Jericho made a spectacular entrance with an a cappella choir performing his entrance song Judas, with the Inner Circle's Santana and Ortiz escorting him. The match quickly spilled out of the ring with Moxley and Jericho brawling. Despite interference from Jericho's teammates, Moxley could not be stopped. He fought the two off, and when Jake Hager interfered, referee Aubrey Edwards intervened, sending him to the back. Even the arrival of Sammy Guevara Guevara couldn't turn the tide as Moxley continued fighting. Jericho played his last card, targeting Moxley with a gouge to his one remaining eye. In a stunning surprise, Moxley ripped off his eye patch, revealing his bad eye had in fact healed. One paradigm shift later, and Moxley was the new AEW World Champion, ending Le Champion's 182-day reign. Jon Moxley had overcame the odds. A classic storyline of a lone wolf fending off the numbers advantage of a formidable heel champion. Now 2 questions awaited him. Could he hold on to the belt, and could he lift the AEW World Championship's prestige to even greater heights? And if you've enjoyed part 1 of the history of the AEW World Championship, make sure you drop a like down below, and if part 2 is out, it'll be on the screen right now, but if it's not, there'll be another video for you to watch there in the meantime. But until next time, peace.